TOA and Fit Body Bootcamp communities. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Robert Linkul, trainingtheolderadult.com. I hope you're all doing great. I want to talk to you about something today that I heard one of my favorite people in the industry talk about. His name is Dr. Andrew Huberman. Now, when I don't know Andrew, I shouldn't name drop like that, like we're buddies. We go on rucks together, even though he's super fit and jacked, and I have a small man crush on him. Not as much as Dr. Attia. I am madly in love with him. Well, I'm madly in love with Dr. Mike Israetel as well. I love all these guys. They're all fantastic. They're super smart. They're really fit. They're living the life. Anyway, everybody has little crushes and obsessions, right? Well, these are one of mine. These guys are mine. So, all right, we're going to talk about something that Dr. Huberman said when Dr. Wolf, the gentleman in the top left corner, if you see him there, he's doing a review of something Hubie said. So I'm going to review what Huberman's saying through his video, but we're not going to actually talk about the title of what's on here. Anyway, I don't mean to confuse you, but let's listen and then we'll talk about it.
Reasons to want to get stronger. And I should just mention that it's not always the case that getting stronger involves muscles getting bigger. There are ways for muscles to get stronger without getting bigger.
That's true. There's definitely ways for muscles to get stronger without getting bigger. There are ways to train muscles. The best analogy I can give you for this is you're playing the guitar, and your guitar has one really, really small string, one very small, thin string. And when you strum it, boom, that's its potential. But as you continue to play, that's like lifting more weights, you get another string. And that string not only is a second string, but maybe it's a little bit thicker. And so when you play that one, boom, it's a little bit different, a little deeper, right? And then the next one, and the next one, the next one. Eventually, you've got 6 strings, and they go from really thin to really big, and they have different densities to them. But when you lump them all together, they're a big lump of muscle mass, right? And so basically, your muscles are little string fibers that you now have 6 strings. If I'm trained, those fibers are going to be full, and they're going to be rich, and they're going to be strong. But if I stop training, I just sit down, I don't do anything for 6 months, I still have 6 strings. They just shrink down to the size of that first one. They're really, really tiny. But if I decide I want to get in shape again, and I start to train again, those 6 fibers that were there originally, they're still there. They're just going to redevelop in size, but I keep training. Now I have 7, 8, 9. Well, now I'm bigger than I was the first time. So there's a way to do that, right? Where that's hypertrophy. You're tearing more fibers. Or you start putting more stress on the 6 strings you have, and you make them tighter and firmer. So instead of having like a medium handshake, you have a firmer handshake and a stronger handshake. Eventually you're like, ow, you're hurting my hand. I don't have more hands. I just have a firmer handshake. That's kind of the idea here. Okay, so let's continue.
However, increasing the size of a muscle almost inevitably increases the strength of that muscle, at least to some degree. Reasons why most everyone should want to get their muscles stronger is that muscles are generally getting progressively weaker across the lifespan. So when I say getting stronger, it's not necessarily about being able to move increasing amounts of weight in the gym, although if that's your goal, what I'm about to discuss will be relevant to that.
Okay, one more time. Let's hear this.
Generally getting progressively weaker, want to get their muscles stronger, is that muscles are generally getting progressively weaker across the lifespan. So when I say
let's talk about that. Are muscles getting progressively weaker across a lifespan? Are they really? I don't think so. I don't think that's accurate. Okay? Let's think about it. You're born. You're weak. You can't even manipulate your gigantic head. Your head is like you're everywhere. Your weekend at Bernie's, right? Like this is life. You can only manipulate your gigantic head. And then you start to figure out how to articulate your arms, and you start to learn how to walk not like a gorilla, right? And you're like, oh, hey, here's articulation. I can contralaterally perform this stuff. And then you're like, I can fucking do cartwheels and shit. Like you get stronger. You start to develop your muscle mass. 16, 18, 21, 25, you're kind of hitting your maximum coordination / strength / power. And then what happens? If you keep training into your 30s, are you losing muscle mass? No. If you keep training into your 40s, are you losing muscle mass? No. Into your 50s and you're still training? No. Okay, well, if I'm going to live to be 100, there's half of my life I haven't lost any muscle mass. So now I'm going to get into my 60s and I'm still training. Am I going to lose muscle mass? Maybe now, maybe into your 60s, you're going to start to lose muscle mass. Okay? But does that mean that you're weaker? I don't think so. I don't think that's accurate. I think if you keep training, you can maintain, go with me on this, you can maintain a significant amount of strength until you die, okay? So let's have this discussion. What is strong? I don't mean power lifter, Olympic lifter, shot putter, thrower, strongman, bodybuilder strong. Those are some of the strongest human beings on earth. Those individuals, which I used to be one and I wasn't a good one, okay? And I used to be really strong, but I wasn't a good one. So I was one of the strongest, not so strong people. I was the weakest, really strong person. Let's get into that, okay? These individuals, strong men, for example, have to work through massive ranges of motion, really big ranges of motion, with really heavy load. Have you ever seen the elephant deadlift bar? They pick the bar up off their shoelaces. They stand on blocks, so they're at a deficit. And then Brian Shaw is 6'10", and he deadlifts 1,000 pounds or 987 pounds or whatever it was. Thor Bjornsson's 6'10", and he's off the floor. The bar's touching like the lower third of his shin. And I get it. He's got long arms and he's got a long torso, but it's still proportionate, right? I mean, he's still got to pull that thing from way lower than we would pull a regular bar. 9 inches off the floor. He's pulling it like 4 inches off the floor. And it's 1,000 pounds. Granted, I know the bar bends and I get all that, but it's still super heavy in a huge full range of motion. They squat deep, they bench deep, they overhead press to a full range of motion, they row full ranges of motion, they throw heavy, heavy loads, they carry heavy as shit anchors and torpedoes and whatever else, they tow buses and trains. They're the strongest of the strong and the most athletic of the athletes, okay? I think right there, pound for pound, next to them you have CrossFitters, some of the best CrossFitters in the world. So you have the strongest of the strong people over here. And then you have like bodybuilders on the other side of that who are really well endured. They're strong, but they can move pretty heavy weight lots of times. Strong men can lift really heavy weight 1 to 10 times, which is still a lot, but really just one really good one to 4 or 5 maybe reps somewhere in there. And then the CrossFitters are kind of in the middle of that, right? Like nothing CrossFit does strength-wise you look at and you're like, holy shit, that's amazing strength of a lift. Because there's always somebody that's in the Olympics or in strongman or in powerlifting who lifts way more than they do. But can those people walk on their hands, do muscle ups, do swim and do marathon and do all the other shit that they do at a pretty good? No. That's why I admire the CrossFit athletes so much, because they can do like everything at an 80% B plus level, and it's super impressive. Where the strongman, A+ on strength. The power lifters, A+ on strength. The Olympic lifters, A+ on power development, right? So, and bodybuilders like A+ on symmetry, right? And muscular endurance, I would say, of heavy loads. So everybody's kind of got like these areas. CrossFit kind of floats around in the middle. Don't get me wrong, they're really strong, but not the strongest of the strong. That's my point, okay? So you have that group of people, those folks, shot putters, hammer throwers, power lifters, all of that. They're in the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. The rest of this world, what's strong? Let's say, pound for pound, if you can deadlift half of your body weight, let's call you strong. So if I'm 250 pounds, can I pick up 125 off the floor? That's strong. That's more than any groceries. That's more than any wheelbarrow for the most part. Like anything that I'm going to actually encounter in life on a regular basis. It's not I'm moving my refrigerator, right? Like on a regular basis, I could venture up to something 100 to 125 pounds, half my body weight, okay? And then on the other side of that, upper body strength, bench press, okay? Could I bench press half of my body weight? There really isn't anything where you're going to lay down on your back and push. So, bench press is just upper body, a way to test it. So sure, 125 pounds. I can't think of anything that's 125 pounds other than a person who's going to lay across my hands and I would bench press them, right? So let's call that strong. So if I can do 125 pounds on the bench and 125 pounds pulling off the floor, I can do that right now easily, and I'm in my 40s. I'm going to be able to do that in my 50s for sure. I'm going to be able to do that in my 60s for sure. I'm going to be able to do that in my 70s for sure. I am going to be able to do that in my 80s for sure. I'm going to. But most people think of an 80-year-old and they think of an old Mr. Burns, wrinkled up, shrunken old man. I am not going to allow myself to get to that. I mean, God willing, nothing happens and I don't get injured or some disease, anything that makes it where I have to. But if I can just keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to stay strong enough to do that. So by our standards, if we go, well, that's strong. If I can always do half my body weight, even if I get lighter, right? I can still do half my body weight, but keep that strength. My point is there's a relative amount of strength. Let's look at dumbbells maybe. Maybe I can pick up an 80-pound dumbbell off the floor and I can always bench press 40s, okay? Something like that. Let's just throw out those numbers. Compared to any other regular human being out there, if you just said, I can pick up 80 pounds off the ground and I can push 80 pounds with my hands, they would go, that's pretty strong, right? Just regular everyday people, that's strong. You would ask that person to help you move because they can pick up 80 pounds, move it around. I'm going to be able to do that until the day I die. I guarantee you that is my goal, okay? Because I'm never going to stop training. So my point is if we all agree that that's relatively strong, anything above that is just extra bonus awesome strength, okay? So you can't look at it and go, well, your max peak potential is going to be in your 30s, early 40s of how strong you can get. We have outliers. There's Mark Felix's of the world, right? Who are still deadlifting 900 pounds into his 50s. Like there are guys like that. And that's okay. There's going to be plenty of people like that. But on average individual, just regular everyday people out there, right? I think if you're going to hit your max in your 30s, 40s, but I'm like, I don't know, 300%, 500% more than what we've already declared to be strong. If I could back squat 500 pounds and if I could bench press 400 pounds and I could deadlift 500 pounds or whatever, right? If you're those numbers in your 40s and your 50s and those numbers even taper off to the point where, well, we said 125 and 125 or 80 and 40, remember? Like if we said those are the numbers, my point is like, if there's just a base level of like average human being strength, if that's the barometer for you've lost muscle mass as you aged, I don't think that's going to happen to people that are trained. I think of my clients now. Bob is one of my clients. I've trained him for 20 years. He was 30 to 32, somewhere in there. I think he just turned 50. So let's say 30 when we started. And he could bench press 80 to 100 pound dumbbells. Okay. He's 50 now and still does 3 sets of 20 with 70 pounders in his house when we train. So 3 sets of 20, 4 sets of 20, 5 sets of 20. He does 100 reps with 70-pound dumbbells when we do our chippers. So I'm pretty sure if I gave him 80s, he could do 15. If I gave him 90s, he could do 10. If I gave him 100s, he could do 5. I'm pretty sure he could do that right now, which is the same strength shit he did when he was 30. Now, if we go back to when he was 22, playing competitive football at the University of Davis, at San Diego State, when he was benching 365, okay? Different ball game. Training for superhuman level strength, 1% of the 1%. But what about the rest of the world's strength? He's 500 times stronger than the rest of the average world. So if he just loses that strength and comes back to what we know him as right now as like just strong Bob, not football player strong Bob, but just regular strong Bob, Bob's strong as shit. Do I think Bob's ever not going to be that strong? Is Bob ever going to not be able to do 40-pound dumbbells. Bob's the same size as me, okay? He's a little bit different proportions. I have bigger legs, he has bigger upper body, okay? Same weight. Is Bob ever gonna not be able to bench 40s? Fuck no. That guy's always gonna be able to bench 40s. Will he ever not be able to pick up 80 pounds up? Fuck no. There's no chance. Bob will be 100 years old and still be able to bench 40s and pick up 80 pounds off the ground. Because that's the way that he is built, and he's gonna train his strength levels to maintain that. Something's gonna have to intervene, is my point. We're gonna have to get sick, we're gonna have to get hit by a car, we're gonna have to break a leg, we're gonna have to, like, something's gonna have to happen to where then we atrophy a whole lot to not be able to do that, right? And those things can really happen. I'm not arguing that we're superhuman. We're not, that's not gonna happen. That can absolutely happen. My point is do we have to accept that statement of we're in a constant state of losing our muscle mass? I don't think that's accurate. I think you have a time in your life where you have a max potential to really build a lot of muscle mass and get super, super strong. And then from there, you can start to lose it. But what if you never build superhuman strength? What if when you're 15, you just start doing resistance training and you get to the point where you can bench 40-pound dumbbells? And you do that when you're in your 20s and in your 30s and in your 40s and in your 50s and in your 60s. Well, that's the majority of your life. You didn't lose any muscle mass. You didn't lose strength. So how is that statement accurate, right? This is the mindset of people that talk about sarcopenia and why you look at the chart and you're like, at 35, now the chart's going, well, now I'm weak. You're not. You're at your max potential. Where's weak? It's way down here. It's way down here is weak. Way down. If you would just strength train a little bit, you'll stay way above that. We shouldn't even get close to that line of weak. And yet, 85% of our population they're either at that line or below it. Over 50, of course, I'm talking about. They're either at that line or below it. That's called the disability threshold, where you either need someone else to take care of you and or an assisted device, cane, walker, wheelchair, etc. I don't think people should get anywhere near the disability threshold naturally. Now, if you suffer an injury, you get sick, you have a disease, you get hit by something, something like that happens, different ballgame. But if we just continually take care of our bodies and stay somewhat strong throughout our aging process, I think the majority of our life, we should be building our strength and our abilities, not losing it. And if not building it, maintaining it would be another way to look at this argument, okay? Tell me what you think. I want to hear from people. I want to hear what you think in the comments. Am I barking up the wrong tree? Am I misinterpreting this? I might be taking something that he just said as like, yeah, as we age, we lose muscle mass. Maybe the average person does. But what about maybe the average person that doesn't resistance train does? But maybe the average person that does resistance train doesn't. I think this is something to discuss and look into further. And I think it comes down to a barometer of what is strong, what is weak, male, female, proportionate to body size and type, whatnot. And I don't know if you would do male or female. I think it would have to be an accountability towards a percentage of your body weight. And of course, everybody's going to be different. I'm going to do better at lower body exercises. I'm going to struggle more with upper body exercises, and some others will be the opposite, etc., right? But generally speaking, I feel like there's a number, there's a level, there's an ability out there where you could say, this person is strong or this person is weak. And those levels, I think, can be maintained for 80 years, if not more. Just my opinion. But I have seen individuals who have not trained into their 60s get stronger. Quite strong, actually, and then compete in competitions and lift more than they ever had when they were 20, 30, 40 years old. But were they training when they were 20, 30, 40 years old to do that? No. But the point is they got stronger in their 60s. They got really strong in their 60s. Well, you said we're losing our muscle mass as we age. Not that person. See what I'm getting at? we can't throw a blanket statement out there like that just says, as you get older, muscle mass goes down. I don't think that's the case. I think it depends on what you're doing to your body. And now if you intervene medically by giving synthetics, human growth hormone, anything like that, steroid, any variation of a steroid, Winstrol, Dianabol, and anything like that, a whole different story now. But even just the basics of a hormonal leveling of TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, right? Estrogen, just basic hormones that can help us as we go through the aging process maintain basic muscle mass, basic bone density, cognition, joint health care, joint security, ligament, tendon, joint, all that health care, right? I think you add all that in there, we've got a whole nother discussion now. We've already seen the average 50-year-old male that resistance trains looks very different now than they did 30 years ago. Take 50-year-old men in the 80s and 50-year-old men in the 2020s and look at them now, very different. Very different. Like the whole dad bod thing doesn't exist anymore. You know, men in their 50s back in the 80s were semi-fit and okay, but not like the guys now. You see guys in their 50s now and you're like, bro, if you didn't have salt and pepper hair and a beard, I'd say you're 32. You're chiseled. You're granite. It's because they're on TRT, right? Like that's kind of the par for the course right now. But that's in my opinion okay. I think it's a good thing. I think it's keeping people strong and healthy, and I'm all right with that. Not competing for any sport. We're not winning any money because of this. You know, we're not changing someone's life outcome where there's a winner and a loser in a sporting event. Like this is to improve their health and to help them age way better than they would naturally. I say this coming to you as a person who takes testosterone. For 7 years of my life, after my thyroid was taken out, my body stopped producing testosterone. For 7 years, I had a testosterone score of 0. Literally 0 for 7 years. And then I got a little bit of testosterone in a hormone replacement into a therapy. 3 months in, drastically changed my life. Migraines gone. My back started feeling better. I started sleeping better. My joints started feeling better. Wow, what a difference. What have I been missing? Well, you have lung cancer and thyroid cancer, and you have a bunch of organs taken out of your body, and you can't produce as well as you did before. If this was anything else, and they said, well, you don't have a thyroid anymore, here's thyroid medication, people go, well, that makes sense. Well, I don't have testosterone, so here's testosterone. But some people are seeing problems with that. Monitoring my health and everything is great. I couldn't be happier. And there's a large portion of our population doing the same thing right now. I believe, based on the research and all the stuff, everything we've looked at, this is a good thing, it's a healthy thing, it's a safe thing, as long as you're doing it properly. Advised and overseen by your medical doctors. You gotta be careful of your blood pressure, and you gotta make sure you don't, get your testosterone scores into a position where they're too high or too low, etc. Your body is not going to make it once you start to take it, but if you're already 7 years not having it, what do you got to lose at that point? Okay? That's my point. And I've been very open about it. I've talked about this in previous videos and such too, okay? All right, let's hear the rest of this and we'll wrap it up.
Stronger, it's not necessarily about being able to move increasing amounts of weight in the gym, although if that's your goal, what I'm about to discuss will be relevant to that, but rather to offset some of the normal decline in strength and posture and the ability to generate a large range of movement safely that occurs as we age. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we just tend to lose function in this neuromuscular system as we get older, and doing things to offset that has been shown again and again to be beneficial for the neuromuscular system, for protection of injury, for enhancing the strength of bones and bone density. So there are a lot of reasons to use resistance exercise that extend far beyond just the desire to increase muscle size.
So wouldn't you by definition then be stopping for the majority of your life you're losing your muscle mass, if you do all the things he just talked about, resistance training and sleeping well and all the things he just said that will help you battle that, if if you do all those things and you're no longer losing it, are we not now by definition either maintaining or improving it, right? Do you see what I'm saying? If the average person dies at 71, that's the average person. They die between 71 and 74, okay? Depends on, there's two different charts out there that tell you when the average person dies. One says 74, the other one says 71. So I just give you both numbers. So if that's when you're gonna die, and you can either maintain muscle mass all the way through 70 or at least until 50, that's still more than the majority of your life, guys. I think we've got to change that narrative. I think it has to be said, those that do not resistance train and take care of their bodies will lose muscle mass as they age. And with that comes fall risk, cognition loss, blah, blah, sexual performance, the sleep, the cognition, the problems, you know what I mean? Like every list of everything that comes with it then. Or eat more protein, stay hydrated, lift some weights, regular basis, you're gonna do great. And we've seen in these studies that's like as little as 20 minutes twice a week can help people maintain muscle mass for sure, and in some cases even build it. One study was like 9 minutes a day for 3 or 4 days. I don't remember exactly, but it was like 9 minutes every day. They barely even warmed up. They just started a circuit and just went around 4 times. It was like 45 seconds, 5 exercises. So what's that? Like 3.5 minutes. And they did that 3 times. So it was like 10 minutes, 9 or 10 minutes. That's it. Every other day kind of a thing. 1 week you get 3 and the next week you get 4. And they improved. They increased their muscle mass. And they were over 55. Everybody. I think the average person, if I remember that one correctly, don't quote me, I think they were 63 mean age. So average age, 63, I want to say, or 65, somewhere in there. Point is over 50, over halfway, right? They gain muscle mass. So by definition, if you're gaining, you're not losing. Is it your max peak potential? No, but what is our barometer for strength, right? What is our barometer for normal? If it's all the way down here, then any kind of gain means you're not losing. That is my point. This is changing a mindset. It's changing a mentality, changing a way that we're talking to our people. You're in a constant battle between being active and maintaining or building muscle mass, bone density, or you're inactive, you're not doing anything, and you're continually losing it. Oh, you get active again, it starts to come back up. Oh, nope, now I rest. Or oh, now I'm back, I'm doing really good. Oh, I got in a car accident, I broke my leg, now I'm out. Our bodies will do that throughout a lifetime. Or you get active, you stay active, you keep strong, you keep strong, you keep strong, you keep strong, 60, 70, 80, 88, dead. Like that's kind of the goal. I'm not saying you'll be able to bench what you could bench when you were 80, when you were 20. That's not my point. I think I made that clear, right? My point is I think you can maintain a pretty good strong, where you would say that guy's strong. Not that guy's strong for an 80-year-old. You would just say that guy's strong. Imagine an 80-year-old, he's 80, and he can bench press 40s and pick up an 80-pound kettlebell off the ground. You would look at that guy and go, wow, guy's 80, that's strong. Well, he could do that when he was 70 and 60 and 50, 40, all the way down. All right, I think you get it. I like to this is part of me thinking through the process too. So a lot of these, that's why sometimes it's like 30 minutes now. I've been sitting here going through this with you, nitpicking it. Like, what am I actually trying to deliver to you with this? This is a change in mindset. That's what we need to change. Daily routine, daily practice, daily pursuit, daily consistent pursuit of strength, knowing that it's going to have a positive effect on us decade after decade. And it doesn't take a whole lot. All right, that's enough for me. Hope you're all doing great. Much love and appreciation, all of you. Until next time, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. Take care.